Now that the X106 is available with that 40 megapixel sensor, we can see that the X-Pro4 is on the horizon with the same guts. So that will mean there will be lots of X-Pro3s on the used market. Should you buy one? Hi, Peter Charles here, and let's talk about the X-Pro3 as a used value when the X-Pro4 finally shows up. Because when it does, I'm sure there's going to be lots of X-Pro3 users turning their gear in, and the prices could be quite good. Now, there's going to be two reasons for those prices. First off, the camera has that rear screen that nobody likes, and the other problem is the ribbon cable that has a tendency to break. And nobody wants that to have happen. So if you're constantly opening and closing the rear screen to look at it, you end up with a problem. You end up breaking the ribbon cable, and then it's an expensive repair. So when you're looking at this camera as a used value, a high mileage one is probably not a good choice. So you want to use a low mileage one. But then what about that rear screen? What about the ribbon cable going? Okay. What I've done with my X-Pro3 here that's made a huge difference is I've made that my Q button. Because the Q button location here, I was constantly hitting it by accident. And then what happened is I suddenly realized that I don't need the rear screen for most of what I do. And once you've moved the Q button from this position, it means you can do a lot of what you would normally do with your rear screen through the viewfinder. So I bring this to my eye, turn it on, and I decide I want to change my film simulation. So up goes my menu, my Q menu. I change it to acros. Okay, I take my shot. Now I want to put it back to color. And I put it back to Velvia. There we go. Now I can take a shot. So I've taken a shot in both Velvia and acros. And I did it, make all those changes without taking the camera away from my eye. And I can also, do a little bit of chimping through the viewfinder if I wanted to. I can access my menu quite easily through that. I can just bring it to my eye, hit the menu button or the play button, whichever button I want to use. There's the menu button. And there we go, and I'm in my menu, and then I can just make any changes I want. And then when I'm done, I'm out. Hit the back button. So whether I'm hitting play, hitting menu, you get to memorize the position of those buttons and the joystick very easily. And even the delete drive button at the top and the auto exposure autofocus lock, I mean, they're not hard buttons to get at either. So you can do a lot of your work through the viewfinder, like this, never opening the rear screen. The only time I ever open the rear screen on this thing is if I'm doing some deep menu diving. Otherwise, I don't bother with the rear screen. And the other thing is, I wear reading glasses. So when I'm out in the field, I have to carry some reading glasses with me if I want to read that menu. And of course, the other thing I find, which is interesting, is I'm using a camera like this. As soon as I want to check the rear screen, my head goes down, I lose contact with the subject. But with the camera to my eye, I don't really lose contact with the subject. I hit the Q button, hit it again. I'm not wasting time or losing contact with the subject when I'm using the menu functions through the viewfinder. And the other thing is reading glasses. I don't have to carry them. I don't have to worry about the sun. I don't have to do this business, trying to put some shade on the rear screen so the sun doesn't blow it out. So there's lots of advantages to learn how to use the viewfinder, because you can set the diopter up here so I don't have to worry about my reading glasses. So I can use it without. And I can do whatever I want with it, except, as I say, a deep menu dive I won't do. I'll use the rear screen. But other than that rear screen stays closed all of the time. So it's a great advantage. So if you get used to using your X-Pro3, using the viewfinder for most of your work, then you've eliminated the big problem of why you might not want to buy a used X-Pro3. because if you're not opening a rear screen very often, you're not going to be damaging that ribbon cable, and you don't have to worry about the rear screen irritating you in the way it operates because you're using it with the viewfinder. And that's, if you think about it, that's how Fujifilm intended this camera to be used anyway. And the trick to that is moving your Q function to this function button up here and getting it off of this useless position. So once you do that, it makes it very easy. Everything happens right there with this forefinger between the shutter release and the Q button, and then you've got your thumb to work everything else. It works great, and I've been doing a lot of my shooting these days doing exactly that, and I almost never open up that rear screen. So if you're thinking about looking at an X Pro 3 used, because I think the prices are going to be quite good because of, you know, the general dissatisfaction with that rear screen and the ribbon cable issue, then, you know, that might be a very, very good value. So if you've always wanted an X Pro camera, when the X Pro 4 comes out, that might be your opportunity to get into one at a reasonable price. Cheers.